My name is Bob Gold. I was born in Brooklyn, New York, and grew up in Brooklyn, but left New York City in the middle 1960s. I have educational training at PhD in University of Oregon with major concentration in health education, but I also did supporting area in computer science. And then several years later, I did a postdoc at the University of Texas Health Science Center School of Public Health in Houston, where I also got a second doctorate in public health with major concentration in community health practice. I've had the good fortune of working in lots of different places, in academic settings, State University of New York, University of Oregon, University of Texas, Southern Illinois University, and now University of Maryland. I've also worked in government at Office of Disease Prevention and Health Promotion in the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and internationally at the World Health Organization in Geneva. So I've really had a good fortune of being in lots of different places and lots of different positions. And finally, I also was in the private sector as a vice president of a for-profit corporation that did contract-based research for the United States government. For me, that passion began a long time ago. 1970 actually was my first exposure to the potential of computers in health education. But in 1974, as part of my doctoral program, I did a supporting area in computer science, mostly computers in education. And the first time I saw a simulation program, that particular one was about controlling the attack phase of an epidemic in Africa of malaria. First time I saw that happen, I got really excited about the potential for the use of technology to train health educators and to help us solve major problems in public health. And so it dates back to that experience in 1974. Since then, I've been promoting the use of technology in public health and health education. Sometimes really seeming like I'm hitting a stone wall, but the changes in technology over the course of the last 30 years has been so remarkable that I think that now the potential is even greater than what I thought it was at the time. There is always resistance to change in some audiences, and people who feel uncertain, who weren't trained in the context of using technology, who are fearful because they don't understand the opportunities. Resistance to change is really the stone wall that I'm talking about. And also resistance to attitude change regarding how technology might be used. There are some people who have believed and continue to believe that technology may be appropriate in clinical settings to measure heart function or other kinds of things. But when we're talking about human behavior, it's a different issue. For me, it's not a different issue. It's just a limited range of thinking about how to use the potential that we have. I have always talked about the appropriate use of technology, making choices, not starting with technology and looking for problems to solve, but rather starting with what it is we're trying to accomplish and then deciding what strategies work best. And so I really recommend that students begin by trying to determine what outcomes they're trying to produce, and then examine what set of strategies might produce those outcomes, and how appropriately deployed technology might assist or make the outcomes more impactful or easier to accomplish. But it doesn't begin with the technology. Technology is just a tool. A lot of people are using mobile technologies like cell phones and tablets and laptops and other kinds of things. I'm not certain they're being used maximally, but there is a technology that runs on all of those applications that I don't think is being used by health educators at all, actually, unfortunately. And that goes back to my first experience in 1974, the use of simulation technologies to replicate major issues and problems that health educators have to solve, and then give them an opportunity to explore ways to solve them in a simulated environment that poses no risk to populations and poses no risk to the health educators. I think that is terribly underutilized in health education, in part because most health educators don't know how to build those things, don't know how to create them, or don't know how to use them. There's real challenge there overcoming some barriers, but oftentimes what I would begin with is one of two different strategies. One is to start by saying to a health educator, let's forget about how you're going to use this as a health educator. Let's look at ways to improve your own personal productivity as a health educator. How can we apply technology to make you as a health educator more effective? And just giving a few simple illustrations or examples is often enough to get them intrigued. And then once intrigued, you would hope that they come back and say, okay, now I see some potential here. Is there a way I can use the same technology in my teaching? The other strategy is to build demonstrations in which we have health educators view either a simulated or real environment in which another health educator is utilizing technology, and it becomes evident that that health educator is able to do some things that the people are not able to do in the absence of those technologies. Now, I'm not talking about research articles. I'm talking about actual demonstrations, real-time, in-person, or videoed demonstrations of someone applying the technology in a way that health educators wouldn't think of. My day entirely revolves around technology, and not only because I'm constantly working, but I use it for enjoyment and stress and coping as well. So when I wake up, I put on my glasses and I reach for my iPad, which is generally charging right next to my bed. I'm not asking other people to do this. This is what I do. And the first thing I'll generally do is examine what emails I got overnight. You often hear stories, if you look around, that kids, young adolescents and young adults, first thing they'll reach for is a cell phone to see what text messages they might have gotten overnight. For me, it's emails. I don't reach for my cell phone first. I reach for my iPad and look at email. But then, once I'm ready to actually start my day, I start my day in a gym on a Stairmaster or an elliptical, and I typically will spend an hour on a piece of aerobic equipment. And during that hour, I use an RSS aggregator on my iPad, and I review all of the RSS feeds that I've received brand new that day. I've aggregated about 85 different sources of information relevant to health, relevant to technology, relevant to media, and relevant to my personal interests, such as education, photography, and music. And among those 85 sources, I may get 70 to 80 new references every day. And I review those while I'm working out, review which ones I want to follow up on, which ones I want to recommend to other people. And so by the time I've finished my hour, I may have sent 20 to 30 emails to colleagues with references to things that I think they might be interested in, and links to myself that I will follow up with later in the day after I've showered and finished my workout. Clearly, when I finish my workout, get to my office, I'm again reviewing email and doing all the things that most people would do. But I also follow up on the links that I've sent to myself and catalog information as grant opportunities, as articles I ought to read or follow up on, and other things. And during the day, I also constantly monitor Twitter feeds from 200 different sources that I follow. I'm not interested in following individuals whose life revolves around telling me that they're at a bar having a beer or at the pizza parlor. but I reference thought leaders, opinion leaders in fields that I'm interested in following. And those tweets often contain links to information that I'm going to want to know to keep up with. This is a day-long process. But at the end of the day, before I go to bed, I'll once again check email, as I do all day long. But then is my relaxation time, and I pick up my iPad at that point, and I review things I want to read, personal things, or I'll look at photographs. I'm really interested in high-quality photography, and so I subscribe to RSS feeds from some photography sites, and I'll just look at beautiful photographs, and that's how I end my day. So for me, technology is engaged with every part of what I do all day long. I don't think it's necessary to be connected all day long. I think it's a personal choice. I've made my personal choice, but I think anyone who refuses to be connected is also missing an enormous opportunity. But there are ways to be connected that maximize the time spent. And the best illustration I can give you, I won't tell you who it is, but a colleague, a former student of mine, who's a very prolific writer, researcher and writer, and has, I think, 400 or more refereed publications in high-quality journals. First couple of years he was writing, he would write everything longhand, and he would write for 9 or 10 hours every day. And he loved writing, and he was very productive. 9 or 10 hours is a long time to write things longhand, and it took me several years to convince him to consider taking a typing course. Because when you write, the most you're going to write is 15 words a minute, maybe 20 if you write very fast or scribble. But even he very quickly became capable of typing 40 to 50 words a minute, which is not a high-speed typist. His 10 hours of writing was reduced to 2.5 hours of writing, giving him 7.5 to 8 hours a day more to do other productive, scholarly, or relaxation things. I see that as appropriate to the concept of using technology for all of the things we do. There are opportunities to do them more effectively, more efficiently, less costly, and in a way that produces greater output with less time and effort. Not everybody agrees. There are some people who really would rather hold a book in their hand, and that's okay. That's a personal choice. But as a productivity issue, if we don't explore alternatives, I'm not sure we're doing the best we can. I think the best piece of advice I can give is that the future is theirs. And I really believe, lots of people have heard me say this, that the best way to predict the future is to create it yourself. Don't let someone else create it for you. The future will include technology no matter what you think of it. We may not think of it as embedded technology in the future. 40 years ago, no one would have thought that there would have been cell phones, but 70 years ago or 80 years ago, no one would have thought that telephone technology would have been as ubiquitous as it is today in any form. Technology becomes part of our lifestyle over time. We need to figure out how to use it most effectively and appropriately in given situations. Shouldn't try and do everything all at once. No one can keep up with everything. Don't try. But the focal point is that technology is a tool, not a solution. And so I would say that technology gives us opportunities we don't have. We don't have a way to deal with it otherwise, but I would really recommend that technology is the tool, not the solution to a problem. I have really enjoyed my time here at Texas A&M. I've been here a number of times, and each time I've come, I've really enjoyed my time here. I'll only add that I really think that this is a pretty unique place in terms of the quality of the faculty and the programs and the students, and I congratulate you all on achieving it.